Do you have up to $500 to spend on an audio upgrade? Want to know which products might be the best use of that budget? Let's go, and let's start with headphones. First up are two entries from HiFiMAN in the form of the HiFiMAN Sundara and the Ananda Nano. With HiFiMAN's consistently dropping prices, the Ananda Nanos just recently became a member of the sub $500 club, and they're absolutely amazing for the price. Between the Ananda Nano and the Sundara, I would probably choose the Ananda, but the Sundara is cheaper and has a slightly fuller or richer, warmer sound for those looking for that type of presentation. And no, I haven't forgotten the HiFiMAN Edition XS. I've never been a fan of them due to their very flat soundstage presentation that's very left-right with really no depth. But that might be about to change. Subscribe if you want to see me retry the Edition XS with a simple modification that might just change my mind about them. And by the way, speaking of reviews, I put links in the description below to my reviews of each of these products, as well as some purchasing links to make it easy for you. So if you want to know more about a particular product before you decide whether it's right for you, just click on the review links in the description down below. If you already know it's right for you and you were just waiting for some confirmation, you can click straight on the purchase links. The next headphone I'm going to recommend here is the Modhouse T60 RP Argon. Ever since Ryan from Modhouse released the amazing tungsten headphones, which are way more expensive and they're not in this category, but the result of releasing those headphones is that the wait times and the lead times on all of his stock has gone through the roof. And so the Argon is not going to be a great choice if you're in a hurry, but I included it here because to me it's comfortably the best closed-back headphone under the $500 mark. And so if you can wait a little while and you need a headphone that's going to block out the outside world or prevent you from influencing the outside world, the T60 RP Argon is a fantastic choice. And then the final headphone here is the 105 AER from Meza Audio. For about $400, these bring a sound that is almost as good as their $800 siblings in the 109 Pros. And so in short, these are absolutely awesome, and they're a good place to round out headphones and move to IEMs. I skipped past IEMs when I did my sub $250 category of recommended products because there were just so many on the market it was impossible to choose. And there's a really good chance that I've missed some favourites in this $500 category as well, because this list for all products is based only on what I've tried. So here goes. My favourite IEMs for under $500 are the Dita Audio Project IEM for its wonderful sense of technical clarity and speed and dynamics. But if you're anything like me, you might actually prefer the Elysian Acoustics Pilgrim IEM. It's a richer, smoother sound that's more to my tastes, but I can't help but admire the Project M. If you're not quite sure which sound profile you prefer, you could also look at the Yanyan Canon Mark II. The Yanyan Canon II has the ability to deliver multiple different sound profiles with just the flick of a switch, or technically switches. And then the final IEM that snuck in here was the Zenz Manguard Top, which, as I say that, it might actually be the other way around. It might be the Manguard Zenz Top. I don't remember. It's the top. It's linked down below. You'll find it. These cost a bit more than those others, but they're absolutely amazing, and they're probably just a little bit better than any of the others I've mentioned so far. And of course, comment below if you think there's an even better IEM that I haven't talked about in the $250 to $500 range. For now though, let's stick with portable audio and talk about dongles. There are three amazing dongles, in my opinion, in this price range. In case you haven't heard the term before, dongles are devices that connect up to your computer or your smartphone, and they provide both DAC and headphone amp duties for audio on the go. My favourites in this price range are the Questal M15, the KN-RU6, and the Dita Audio Navigator. The Navigator is probably the crispest and cleanest sounding of this bunch, whilst the KN-RU6 sits at the other end with its full, lush and spacious R2R sound. The Questal M15 sits somewhere in the middle and is probably my favourite of the whole bunch. It balances space, soundstage size, a slightly smooth and rich delivery, but lots of detail and resolution. It's just not quite as clinical and technical sounding as the Navigator, but for me, that does make it potentially just a little bit preferable over the Navigator. And so let's take a sidestep now from portable DAC and headphone amps into fully fledged desktop DACs. And in this price range, this category was really tricky. There are some excellent budget DACs below $250, and there's some incredible expensive DACs once you get over about $800 to $1,000. But between $250 and $500, things are really tricky when it comes to DACs. To come up with 3 strong recommendations here, I've had to stretch the budget just a little bit. And with one of them, we're going to rely on the fact that sales happen to get it down closer, or hopefully inside, our budget range of $500 US. The first DAC here was an easy inclusion. It's the Topping E50 DAC. It's compact and relatively simple, but it sounds great and it fits easily into the $500 category. Next up is potentially the best of the bunch here, but there's also a catch. The Geshelli Labs J3 Pro DAC is a very good DAC straight off the shelf, but it really takes off once you start investing in upgrades in the form of op amps. The catch is that its starting price is already $530 US, and that's before you add the optional USB card or pay for shipping. You can easily spec the J3 Pro to cost more than $800 US, but you don't have to, because upgrades like the op amps can always be added in later. And so it's technically a $530 US DAC, and I'm including it here on that understanding. But I also thought it was important to provide that full clarity about its potential price range, so you don't get a rude shock when you go to Geshelli Labs and start speccing it out the way you might actually want it. The final DAC is another one that sits outside the budget limits, this time by a full $99, let's call it $100, but there's nothing more to spend on it once you get it, and it's likely to drop down much closer to $500, if not to $500, with the right specials and sales. The DAC I'm talking about is the Topping D70 Pro Octo. It uses a pretty unique 8 DAC chip design using Cirrus Logic DAC chips, and it produces a sound that's got a bit of a different character to the usual ESS, AKM, or even the regular Cirrus Logic type designs. On top of that, it's got a great interface and a great set of features, so it's a very easy recommendation. And now I know that I'm jumping up and down the source chain a bit here, but let's now almost kind of take a step back or sideways. I'm not quite sure what direction we're going in, but we're going to talk about all-in-ones. These are the DACs that also have the headphone amp built in. On top of that, they also offer things like preamp capabilities to feed out to a pair of active monitors or to a power amp to drive a pair of passive speakers. One untraditional inclusion here is the eMen Angel. It's not quite portable like a dongle, but it's also not a fully fledged desktop device. But it does sound great however you're using it. In a slight twist though, its pricing varies dramatically depending on where you are. If you can pick this guy up for about $300 to $400 US, I think it's an absolute steal. If it costs more than about $500 where you are though, I do think there's possibly better options around. And one of those options, if we're talking about desktop all-in-one units, is the SMSL Raw MDA1. This just missed out on being included in the $250 version of this video that I released just before Black Friday, and that's because it sits at about $280 US. For less than $300, the MDA1 offers incredible sonic performance, great features, a great interface, lots of inputs, and the ability to work with consoles. In short, it's an excellent choice. Another great all-in-one that's also from SMSL, but it is getting a bit longer in the tooth now, is the SMSL M500 Mark III. And depending on where you look and when you look, it might creep just over $500, but I'm including it anyway because it's a really nice device. It sounds great, it's one of the best all-in-ones around the price that I've ever tried, and it's got a very unique form factor that some of you might be immediately drawn to. And so with DACs and all-in-ones out of the way, let's get back into a slightly more logical flow. We're going to talk about headphone amps, speakers, and then one special bonus mention. I'm going to start off here with an amp, a headphone amp, that should have been included in the sub 250 category. It's the Xduo TA66 OTL tube headphone amp. There is a more expensive alternative to the TA66 in the form of the Xduo TA26S, and the TA26S does offer some additional tube swapping or tube rolling capabilities. But both amps are amazing value and sound great even if you don't want to touch the tubes. I would probably choose the TA66 for its looks and its immediate performance straight out of the box without changing the tubes. But where the TA26S does come into its own is the ability to use the 6SN7 tube, where there are lots of different options available, including the incredible Raytube 6SN7 reserve tubes. And so that could really unlock the potential of the TA26S and be a reason to spend a little bit more money on it. Either way, the TA66 and the TA26 are both great options that I'm recommending here for you. And of course, check out the reviews in the description to work out which one you'd prefer. And then let's continue talking about X-Duo with another amazing amplifier, the TA20 Plus. This one is a hybrid amp using a combination of solid state and tube circuitry, but it's brilliant however you cut it, and it actually bested a much more expensive pure tube amp in a recent review that I did. Not in all areas, but in some characteristics, the TA20 Plus was better than the much more expensive Aurus Audio HA2 SE Plus. And so the TA20 Plus is an easy recommendation here, but in case you're not looking for tube amps, the final recommendation for a headphone amp is from SMSL once again, and it's the H400. This is pure solid state, it's got a lovely design and interface, it uses discrete circuitry, and it produces a fantastic sound at the price. And SMSL are having a good day in this price category, because as we move into the speaker amps now, I've got two SMSL speaker amps that I'm also going to recommend here. I've tried far too many affordable Class D speaker amps in recent times, and I mean that, far too many. I'm over them. But it has proved to me that SMSL know what they're doing when it comes to designing great sounding amps. Both the SMSL AL200 and the AO200 Mark II both have slightly different pros and cons. The end result is they both sound good, but their features and their interfaces are a little bit different. And so once again, this is a case of check the review in the description down below to work out which is the best fit for you. To make it easy, both of them are in the exact same review, so you've only got to watch one video to find out which one you'd like. And that now brings us to our last category before the special mention bonus that I teased earlier. I've got two very different speakers to recommend to you in the speaker category. First up is the Monitor Audio Bronze 50 Compact Stand Mount or Benchtop Speaker. Please don't put these in a bookshelf. These impressed me with their value for money in terms of clarity and dynamics. They produce a fun but refined sound for the price you pay for them, and I think they're an easy recommendation for somebody not wanting to spend too much on a pair of passive speakers. The other speakers that I want to mention here share just one similarity with the Monitor Audio Bronze 50s, and that is they produce impressive sound for their price. Other than that, they couldn't be more different. The Adam Audio D3V is a powered, compact studio desktop monitor with performance that's ridiculous for the price. I'm still prepping the review for these, but they blew my mind when I set them up recently, and set them up completely wrongly as well. What I mean by that is I threw them on my desk with one of them positioned in the right spot and the other one way too close to me and further off to the side than it should have been. Regardless of having them in completely wrong positions, the imaging accuracy, the general clarity, the soundstage and the focus they delivered was still amazing. And so whilst these aren't going to fill a large space, I've tried them and they just don't, for their price and their footprint, they're absolutely incredible for what they're intended for. And so be sure to subscribe if you want to see the full review. If you don't want to wait though, it's a safe recommendation even if you haven't seen a review yet. And now finally, if we're talking about impressive products, I couldn't finish this video without talking about the Effect Audio Eros S Mark II cable. This cable came in recently for review and it impressed me so much that for the time being, it's replaced my much more expensive Fusion 1 cable on my reference Fur Audio monitors, my custom IEMs that is. The tonal coherency, the comfort, and the looks of the Eros S Mark II just immediately won me over. And I've got a short review down below of the Effect Audio cables so you can see what I mean and why I'm saying that about it. It's just a brilliant IEM cable if you're into that sort of thing. And so that's my list of some great audio products for under or just a little bit over $500 US. Let us all know in the comments if you've got any other recommendations that you think deserve to be in this list of great under $500 products. And that means that we want to be talking about products that cost more than $250 US and less, or maybe just a little bit over $500 US. Now, if you're looking to spend a bit more than $500 US for your next upgrade or new purchase, then hit the subscribe button because I do have another video just like this one, but in the next price tier up. That's coming soon. Or if you want to spend a bit less, then check out this video next where I went through a similar list of recommendations all below $250 US. Mostly. For now, I want to say a huge thanks to YouTube channel members, thank you to channel Patreon members, and thank you to those of you that leave super thanks on videos like this one here on YouTube. And until next time, happy listening, be kind to each other, and I'll see you here again soon on Passion for Sound.